This is my first exercise with my new horse. She's a 6-year-old off-the-track thoroughbred mare. She came off the track last year, which would be August of 2017. And her jockey club name is Groovy Dancer. She raced quite a bit, so there's a little bit of like retraining to do here, but I'm just starting the first lesson because she seemed to be a little spooky and whatnot. So I'm just going ahead and desensitizing her to my tools. And you can tell she's not like thrilled with me tossing the rope over her. She's like flinching, like that time she didn't flinch, but the first few times she was flinching. But when she didn't flinch there, I just quit, and as I was tossing it over, I stopped tossing and I clicked at the same time, and I used a tongue click instead of like an actual handheld clicker, and then I feed her. So like lots of people use the positive reinforcement, like clicker training, like for when they're doing something, and then you're like something super obvious, but you don't always think to use it when they're desensitizing. But it does help a lot because it's just like, hey, yeah, that's exactly what I want. I want relaxation. And clicker training really helps you get that relaxation and point it out and be like, yes, like point it out and reward it. So I use that a lot here with her, or I try to. There again, she was good. So like I'm tossing on her, and usually your first like sign of resistance is the horse will just walk away or they'll run away. Your second one is that they will flinch, and then they'll have like their head up, they'll be tense and whatnot. So first you want to reward when they stop and stand still if they're moving, and so you'd click and you'd stop tossing. And then I'm like right on the second level here where she's just flinching, and then when she's not, I stop and click and I treat. So I click at the same time that she's not flinching and the rope is going over her back. So I don't toss the rope, stop tossing it, and then click. It's as the rope's going on. So I'm saying what you're doing right now, which is relaxing while the rope's going over you, is what I want. So, and with her, you had to be really specific because you can see her tossing her head. The last 2 times she was tossing her head, because I think that was a learned behavior with her, that she thought if she tossed it, then it would go away. Like someone's hand would go up to her head and it would go away. So I think that for her was just a learned behavior, which she did a lot of in the beginning, and she does it a lot less now. But you really just have to pay attention to every little behavior and really know what you're rewarding, because someone had rewarded that in the past, and she thought that was a way of getting rid of the pressure. And a lot of horses, it's not necessarily the head shaking like you can see her do the last couple times, like there again. It's more of a head down, and they'll force their head down. And they're not really relaxed. They're just forcing their head down because they think, like, if I do this, then the pressure will go away. What you really want is the relaxation, and then the pressure will go away. So it's like, oh, it's not a big deal. You just relax and it's fine. So that left side I had started on, and she was really not great with. And we missed filming that, and then I tried to get out the camera as soon as like she had stood still. But she'll show a little bit of that, or a lot of that, once I get to the other side here. But I just start up on the withers, like right on top of the withers, and then I work down to the middle of the back, like where your saddle sits. And then I do like top of the hips, hind quarters, hind legs, front legs, neck, and then the head. And that's how I do my desensitizing for everything. And I start with the rope, move on to the whip, and then sound. And then you can do other things like the plastic bag and the tarp and all that stuff. So I'm just tossing it over and then just doing the same thing. When she's relaxed, I'm clicking and I'm stopping my tossing. And I just let her have a minute to just hang out and chew before I do it again. And I'm giving her plenty of space and slack in the lead rope, so I can like control her head. If she were to like cruise off and try to run away, I can kind of just bend her, and so she doesn't run me over, just take off. But I'm not completely trapping her. I'm really holding her in there and forcing it on her. So sometimes I'm not gonna click for everyone. like if she relaxed a little bit, but it wasn't like spectacular, I will release it and reward it as far as the pressure goes. But with the click, I'll kind of like, if they're just struggling really hard, I'll click that when they first like get close to the right answer. And then just when it's big things, I will use it a lot in the beginning, but it just kind of depends on what you're working on. And sometimes I'll click in the not feed. It just really depends on your horse. Like, this is pretty early in her training, so she's getting fed off of every click. So my other off the track thoroughbred, Rhett, I've had for almost 2 years, and he understands the clicker training. He's got that all under control, but he needs to be guessing a bit more. So it's more like the lottery slot machine kind of thing with him. Like, if I click, he'll be like, oh, am I getting it? Am I not? And he'll try a little bit harder. So with her at this point, I'm just trying to pair those a little bit more. She had the teaching the head straightness and what a click means already. Obviously she needs that first, so I can reward her during this. But once you get further along, you can kind of click and not feed. You have to keep a ratio, like you don't want to do it too much, and then the click will lose its value, but just occasionally. So I've moved on here down to her hips, and I'm just using the same process all the way down her body. And then she doesn't love being touched either. She can be a little snotty about that, and she's shedding out, and she's got rain rot, and she's got that sensitive skin. So, but there she was, like, kind of looking toward me to get her treat, and I always feed her away, hands stretched out, and feed her away. That's very important. You don't want to feed her close to you, because then you'll create mugging. It's not just necessarily that you have the food, it's how you feed the food. So I'm giving her a jackpot here. I'm giving her multiple things because she relaxed. So I give out the jackpot when it's like something they've been struggling with and they finally do it, and you really are like, oh, you should really repeat this again. So I do it a lot when I'm teaching them to be bridle. Once I get in the bit in the mouth, I click, and then I'm just like, this is the best thing ever, and I keep feeding them handfuls, and within a day they're just grabbing the bit themselves. And she does that looking away thing. She'll just, pretend you're not there. She's gotten much better at that as well. And I just gently bring her back to me with the rope, or I'll ask her to do something. I don't allow it, don't just ignore it. I have her do something, but I don't punish her. So I'm here on the hips, and I just kind of toss it or perpendicular to the ground. I'm not trying to whip her with it. I don't want to smack her with it. If it makes a little noise, it's not a big deal, but I'm not trying to do that. And you're not going to aim perfectly, and that's fine as long as you keep that rhythm, coming up and tossing over. So that's the really main thing here. So I'm just waiting here for her to relax a bit. She's kind of leaning there, thinking about walking off. I can't tell from here if she's flinching or not, but I'm just waiting for her to show a sign of relaxing. And if she's not flinching, there she's kind of moving, but not too much. So she's just take a step, I'm not going to worry too much, but I'm going to stop every time she relaxes. So I think there she blinked or she stopped flinching. I can't tell from how far away the camera is in this one. I don't exactly remember, but so you have if they start walking away, you're going to keep desensitizing in the same spot the best you can, and then when they stop, you stop and click and reward at the same time. And then if they're flinching, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to keep going till they stop flinching, stop, click reward. And then the next one is just when they blink their eye. It has to be a whole eye blink, all the way closed, not a flinch, because they'll do a quick flinch, especially if you're desensitizing on their neck, just to kind of get away from that. So you got to pay attention. But a whole eye blink, that means they're thinking. They don't how they stare off at something and their eyes are wide open, that's not relaxed. So they have to take that whole eye blink. And I also feed lower to kind of help bring that head and neck down a bit. And that just helps with the relaxation. So move on to the hind legs here. Usually they're pretty flinchy in this spot above the hocks. She doesn't seem too worried. So I don't want her to push in my space, but I'm not going to put a bunch of pressure on her. I'm just going to push her away a bit. Continue on. Like, you still want to stay like at an angle away from their front legs out of kicking range. Some horses aren't thrilled with this touching their back legs. But just try and stay nice and rhythmic here. Wait for that eye blink. And I can just like close my hand on the lead rope if she's distracted here and just kind of bring her attention back a little bit. But she's not super distracted. So if she's like looking at it, it's going to take her a little bit longer. So I'm going to just hold and release. Hold and release. And then if she's, depending on like their energy, if she's got her head up and she's just staring at something, I'll ask gently first and then I'll bump a bit harder until she comes back. But she's like looking, but she's not like dead set on just ignoring me and staring off. So there she came back and like blinked her eyes. You can't really tell from the panels, but when she blinks that eye, I'm like relaxing, or she's relaxing and I'm really rewarding, releasing. So I usually do, once they're relaxed in that place and I've rewarded it a couple times, I'll move on to something else. Sometimes like I'll just do, okay, they're relaxed in this one spot and I'll move on, depending on the horse, really. If it's a super quiet horse and they